Trainers may be better at making it look like dogs are enjoying themselves in the competition ring, but are they really considering the welfare of the dog? In this episode of the Learning About Dogs podcast, Laurence and Sue McGuire discuss training to a standard need not be at the cost to the dog. There is a disconnect, and it's not the first time I've seen this. Probably when I got started, and probably when you got started. I don't know. It's people who seem to think that the only way you're a good trainer or an expert trainer is because of the titles after your dog. And there is such a disconnect between that and what we do. And it seems like we're anti-competitive, but that's not what we're saying. And what are we saying?
I think probably, though, if you go to a competition, and I started doing competitions nearly 50 years ago, and I was that, sweet young thing, and I worked my dog, and I got a second at the first competition I went to, and I was absolutely thrilled, absolutely hooked. But it was, in a way, everybody was level. You with me? You went in and there were 76 in the class. This is British dog obedience competitions. And marks are taken off for crooked sits, wide about turns, dog fails the stage, yada, 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 yada. The one that lost the least points gets a win. And you had to win in UK obedience. You have to win to be able to move up to the next classes. Win's very precious. So we all train our dogs, and then somebody assesses or judges whether this one's lost more than that one. None of these rules were ever written by how much the dog enjoyed the process, whether the relationship was relevant or not, i.e. could a stranger go out and do this with a dog? Probably. And whether this was going to be of any benefit to the dog. But this was 50 years ago. And that, to me, is still very much the culture in obedience. People liked the flashy dogs or the easy dogs to train, the dogs that worked very hard to try and work out what you wanted. So you had to do the minimum amount of work to be able to go and win. Oh, I want one like that. Or, oh, you're so lucky. Your dogs never mess you around, do they, Kay? And at the time, I didn't understand what the difference was, because I couldn't understand why their dogs would mess them around. Yet mess them around was making errors that were outside their training sort of history. In the sit stay, they would sort of lie down at a minute. Oh, okay.
I see that.
They would go out to retrieve and then start sniffing the ground by the side of the article. Yep. These sort of things that were, I remember one guy, I always used to sort of cringe to watch him, and his border collie, because he'd always trained German Shepherds, proper trainer, and he'd set his dog up for distance control, where your dog is left in a stand, sit, or down. You walk to the other side of the ring, and then you put them through 6 moves between stand, sit, and down on the judge's commands. Yep. And as he left, the dog would always drop his head and start sniffing the ground. Be holding the position, but sniff, 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 sniff. And he would turn around, give the dog the first cue. No response at all. And the dog was like, just stood there panting, ears up, and just stood there panting and said, suck it up, suck it up. This is where I get payback. Okay, so he'd fail that exercise, walk all the way back, put his dog in and leave the ring. And it was like every week. And we used to think, what on earth is he doing to the dog that this obvious disconnect, this was the one that was an obvious disconnect, and it wasn't that the dog didn't know what to do. He couldn't have got to this level without not knowing what to do, but it was like, yep, there we go. Yeah. And the dog wasn't the slightest bit disturbed, just stood there watching him. Not fearful, not bothered, just like, no, not today.
Not today.
So, today's obedience is different from it was 50 years ago, but it's probably the same as it was 40 years ago, in the sense that training with play was just starting to come in, so people were getting dogs a lot keener than they were 50 years ago, because 50 years ago you just praised your dog and that's why they did it. So now we have a whole raft of people that are more skilled at hyping the dog up, because then it has more stamina, and under those conditions the dog is psychologically aroused in anticipation of the game that's going to come at the end, that they get more duration out of what they want. They get a harder working dog. But they're still not looking at, is this at any cost to the dog?
Yes.
It's like somebody working in a very high stress dog for many, many hours. Well, they might be making lots of money. They might be doing this. They might be doing that. They might be very famous, celebrities. Is this at cost to the person? And, we're all into this mental health at the moment. To me, even when I was naive and 18 years old doing obedience, it was all about Bobby. It wasn't about what I got. It was about Bobby. And, well, he's resting in the car at the moment. Well, bring him in for this. No, he doesn't really like to be there for that. No, no. They wanted you into the photographs and the lineups and all those sort of
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
And he really didn't like the photograph thing at all. So I didn't bring him in. Oh, well, you got to do it. No, no, he doesn't like it. I don't have to, do I? No, no, no. Oh, gosh, Oh, your dog's not as sensitive as you think they are. Or Kay's always making excuses for her dogs. And it's still now, when I compete now, it's about the dog. And I was known as being the person that in obedience would leave the ring without the judge's opinion. It's because I need to go out the ring and play with my dog.
Uh,
Because he was the one that done all the work. And you see so many people compete, put the dog in the lead, walk straight over the judge. How was that then? And it wasn't about somebody else's opinion. It was about, did he do well? Did he do well better than he did last time I did this competition? Was he able to cope with this? Was he able to cope with that? And that's just been the way I've always seen it and the way I've always done it. So this is not new to me, but I do feel the gap is not closing. We're now seeing people that are smarter at making it look like the dogs are enjoying it, but in actual fact, they're frenetic and over aroused. And that does not equate to enjoyment, and that does not equate to being of benefit to the dog.
yeah, but if I had a nickel for every time I heard somebody say, but they enjoy it.
What's your evidence?
Yeah.
It's like somebody saying, oh, but he knows he's guilty because look at his face when I come home.
Mhm.
Or he's wagging his tail, so he must like going on that collar.
He's barking, he's running, yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. But there again, if we don't see it in our own species, we're not likely to see it in dogs.
Mm.
Those avoidance behaviors. I read something interesting the other day about it was a criticism of people working under the illusion that they could train out a behavior. They could train it away
Oh,
through training. And I thought, that's an interesting term.
train
Yeah,
out.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you do this for long enough, training, you'll get rid of this behavior.
Mm.
And like, wow, long are the days where if a dog pulls on a lead, it's a behavior, so you've got to train it to make it not pull on a lead. You'll train out that behavior. Or
Mm-hmm.
the dog barking at next door's children in the garden. Oh, we'll train that out of the dog.
Yeah.
And, it's like it doesn't matter why the dog's doing it or that the dog feels they need to do it. Yes, the total disregard that this has a reason. As far as the dog's concerned, it has a reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
And once you dismiss the function of that behavior, why the dog's doing it, you're dismissing the dog. You're saying what you believe in as a dog, what you do is of no value. It's irritating to me, so I'm going to make you stop doing it. And this is where it's so sad to see very, very good training methods being used at a cost to the dog. Oh, but it's positive training. Yeah, for who?
I
Makes you
don't.
feel better that you use positive training. Is it positive for you because you're using treats and rewards, but you're stopping your dog behaving like a dog?
Mhm.
Oh, but he just can't do that. He can't jump all over people. Well, then don't let him near people.
Mhm.
Ask the people to step away. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just, yeah.
I don't want
So,
people
yes, we
to
will
think.
continue to fight the fight that we are the advocate for the dog to be able to behave like a dog and not be seen as something else. But from all extremes, the people that have the fur babies dressed up in goodness knows what, those feet never touch the pavement, to the sports enthusiasts that are all about the sport and their ego and never about the dog.
Mhm. I don't want people
Doesn't mean
to
they're
think
exclusive.
that we're anti go compete with your dog. That's not what we're
No, no,
saying.
no. But
But I
you
think that
need to put the dog's needs before your ego.
right.
I compete with my dog, but
But
would I take my dog? So now I do heel work to music instead of obedience. 25 years of obedience. Ugh.
mhm.
So heel work to music because it's a bit more imaginative, a bit more creative. You can let the dog do things that suit that dog. But if I thought the floor surface is unsuitable for the dog to do my routine, I don't go in, and that has happened. no, I won't enter that venue because the floor surface is not good enough. And probably if I did agility, it'd be the same. If I didn't think the ground was good enough, I would not risk my dog getting injured.
Mm-hmm.
So, but oh well, top handlers won't injure their dogs. Well, because it costs so much to actually try to recover, considering all the hours you put it in. But is that more for their benefit or for the dog's benefit?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. Don't
I
know.
don't know.
But I think now we're sort of becoming more aware of people's mental health. I think we should certainly be taking into account a dog's mental health under all conditions, and dog sports are rather like, no, I don't know, you're going to have to correct me on this. I watched a series on Netflix, which was about kids doing at a college, and they got a scholarship because they do the things where it's mixed boys and girls, and these girls are flung in the air by the lads. It
Oh,
sounds a bit
cheer or
horrendous.
something like that. Yeah,
Cheer,
like cheer or something like that. Yeah.
something, yeah. And it's not a thing I've ever seen over here, and I've not ever participated in it. And it followed this college through to a top level, you know, um,
Mm-hmm.
the best in the country type of event. And I'm watching these kids, these young girls, probably what, 16, 17, 18, 8
Yeah.
years old, being flung around and get injured and bruised, and constant need for physiotherapy, constant need for strapping. And I'm going, not only are they physically getting wrecked, but mentally what's happening to them as well, all in the name of a competition.
Yeah.
And I just don't see how it's beneficial.
I often go back and forth on this whole. We never had as much physio, fit paw, canine
Oh yeah,
conditioning,
yeah, yeah,
all
yeah,
these
yeah, yeah, yeah.
specialties years ago, and one could look at it like because we didn't have the knowledge,
All the
right?
extreme behaviors.
Or the extreme behaviors causing these rehabilitation
Yeah,
needs.
yeah, yeah,
It's like
yeah.
a chicken and the egg kind of thing.
Yeah, it's certainly a sort of a side spur that's bloomed as a result of the dog sport.
Yeah, and yeah, people will take your
Yeah,
money for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But they're doing it on all sorts of things. With the clothing you can get for dogs. I mean, just look at the dog food industry. The whole dog industry is a major money spinner. Almost, you'd have to be poor in business not to make money out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're making money out of people's. Yeah,
Yeah.
I struggle with the gap there. Let's just leave people's for their dogs. Yep, or the reason for having a dog, the function behind having a dog.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, we often talk about this is not for me, or then you'll see a website or you'll visit and see a video and go, oh, that's just so for me, because it's about the dog. It's not about the
Yeah.
person. You can almost see the person's boots. You don't see anything else but the person's feet because it's about the dog,
Oh.
not about the person that's propping the dog up. And look at my face as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
Mm-hmm.
it's a different culture that I find harder and harder to understand, and harder on the dogs than people say, "Oh, in the olden days it wasn't," but yeah, yeah, not so bad, not so
And it's
bad.
not because we're a bunch of old farts. That's not it.
Well, no,
Well,
we are, but
we
never
are,
mind.
but yeah,
And we're sitting on the
something.
porch, rocking away, going, "Oh, these young people." No, some of them are our contemporaries.
Yes, they
They're the
are.
same age as us. They're
Yes,
not
they are.
any younger. And
Yeah.
there are young people that are, I used to teach college age kids that were sort of 16 to 20, and I could tell you some of them would stand up and just not let that happen. We went on visits to guide dog training, police dog training, and I'd have a group of about 15 to 20, 16, 17-year-olds, and everything was black and white. Everything was absolutely black and white. And this guy was demonstrating with his dog, and he kept just putting it into the sit, with a little bit of a tight collar, and just propped his finger tips on the dog's bottom and sat it again and again and again and again. And I'm standing at the back of this group going, oh, mate, I could see them all, their shoulders tightening up, and they were fidgeting from side to side. And then somebody popped and said, excuse me, sir, why does that dog have to sit?
Oh,
Bless her.
bless her.
Well, because it has, that's something we have to train the dog to do. Yes, but you're only talking to her. And she just absolutely just relentlessly went at him, and he could not come out with any good reason for the dog to sit.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was like, yeah, this is the next generation. All power to them. Yes. All power to them for standing up and saying, this is not very good for the dog, is it? And I wonder how much we've become used to, this is what we've become to see as the norm. We're going to build these high drive dogs because otherwise they can't do it any other way. And believe, well, that's the way it got to be. That's what they say. There's no evidence behind this at all. And if I know enough sports that if you've got a high drive dog, you're in major trouble if you don't teach it extremely carefully for whatever a high drive dog is. It's a dog that's easy to arouse. My sheepdogs, which are my sort of, the dogs I know the best of, a high drive dog that they would describe is, and I remember coming off the trials field and the judge went, he's a bit hot, love, isn't he? And he didn't mean temperature wise. He was just over keen. If you said go left, blimey, and he said, stop. Okay, go right. Okay, I'll go right. And he went so fast in every single direction that the sheep just were going round in circles, not knowing which was up to them. So, these types of dogs, although everyone goes, oh, you're so lucky to have that type of dog, they're not the level-headed dogs that get the job done. They're not the ones that just take time, which is a classic term in sheepdog trials. Steady on, don't rush the sheep. Take time. Take time.
Yes,
those are the gold dogs, not the ones that rush and dash and show off and panting a lot and all the time. And often because they've been hyped up by the people. That was not their normal mode.
Benefit the dog.
Yeah, all we should do is our first question, how is this going to benefit the dog? And, we have that throwaway, well, he'll find me a lot happier if he stops doing that behavior. That's how it's going to benefit him. Okay. So if he starts pulling on a lead, he's going to benefit because he's going to go out for more walks. It's just like, okay.
I don't know where to start with that one, so okay.
Well, they'll always find some reason to excuse why they're having to train it.
Don't forget, links to courses and other offerings are in the episode notes. Thanks for listening.